everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And today we are watching the latest, or reviewing after we've watched the latest episode of Season 3 of Dark Winds. The name of the episode is Coal Mine Canyon, and it's episode 5. And we had talked about, I just wanted to bring it up, that this season is based on 2 books by Tony Hillerman, and that is Dance Hall of the Dead and The Sinister Pig. And Dance Hall of the Dead is like book 2. And Sinister Pig is his third to the last book, number 16. He wrote 18 books, and then his daughter took over. And I'm not sure how many she's written, but not that many anyway. So I decided, because I had read Dance Hall of the Dead like last year or something, I would read The Sinister Pig. And so I did that to kind of supplement what we were watching. So
Paper airplane, woo!
So anyway, it'll come up a little bit, maybe what I read compared to what we saw in this episode. So I don't know how to describe the episode or say what I thought about it. There are parts of it I liked, and then there were parts of it that I wanted to get my notebook and throw it on the phone, or slam my phone on the ground, because...
Well, you slam your phone on the ground all the time anyways. So.
I thought it was just... It paralleled the book in a certain... The Sinister Pig book in a certain way, with the things that happened that irritated me. So go ahead, Marco. What do you want to say about it to start off with?
Well, I don't know. I guess, there's the 3 main characters. You have Joe Sleephorn, you have Emanuelita, and you have Jim Chi, who looks like he should be playing Jim Jones. And I guess you could go through each one and talk about their stories in this episode. As a whole, I would say, I don't know. I think Dark Winds, for some reason, each season... Well, season 1 didn't start off very good, but each season starts off like it could be pretty good, and you feel like, okay, this is going to be the good season. And then there's a turn that happens where it's like, at a certain point, it's suddenly not good anymore. And it's suddenly like, ooh, what's all this stupid stuff that's happening? And you're just kind of sitting there wondering, like, how did this season turn out so bad when it started out so good? And, why does the show make so many stupid mistakes that they don't even have to make? I mean, that's the thing. And I think, though, unfortunately, maybe this season was doomed to fail, because Emanuelita is in the Border Patrol. And it's funny because she's in the Border Patrol so that she can basically do a case that connects to the main case back in
the reservation.
The reservation. But it's like, other than that, there's no reason that she even needs to be at the Border Patrol. Like, there's nothing that's happening for her character that feels like it was necessary to put her in this environment. Like, you could talk about a different show, like, I don't know, let's think about it. Safi, like a show where... No. Like a show where a side character leaves and goes somewhere, and it's meaningful to the show. Like, something happens, like, it had to have happened. I probably would... Maybe Safi should talk about the episode and I'll think about it, because it's just the fact that, like, usually... Okay, I already thought of one. Well, kind of. And this one's funny because this is the last episode of the show that I have watched. I have not caught up on the show, and that is The Blacklist.
Oh, yeah, you have not caught up, that's for sure.
It got to 10 seasons. They had some pretty disastrous final seasons, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
People were really upset about it. There was even, like...
I bet they were.
There was this thing that happened during the pandemic where they were too pussy to shoot like normal people, and so for the finale, they shot like an animated finale with like comic cartoons and shit, and
Really?
it's so bizarre, and everyone hated it, and just there's all this stuff. But like, there was a part, and it's funny that this is the one that I think of off the top of my head, but there was an episode where James Spader thinks that the main female character has been killed, and he goes off to this area I think called Cape May, and he's staying inside this like lighthouse or something, and he thinks that it's abandoned, or he thinks there might be ghosts because he's being haunted by what happened with this woman who was killed, and he really liked her, and she was like his daughter figure to him. And then it turns out that actually there are bad guys there, and they're trying to kill him. There's not ghosts there, and eventually it actually brings him back to wanting to go back and go back to work and figure out what's going on. And so, but that whole episode, it was just one episode, and it felt like it was a nice break in the show because the show was so action-packed and so intense, and then it took this little break, and it was very meaningful for the character. And this whole story with the Manuelita at the Border Patrol, it's completely pointless, other than she gets to have sex with this random white guy who sucks and nobody likes him.
That never happened to the boys. Never.
Yeah, well, it's happened now in the show, so it's now a part of history, a part of Joe Sleephorn history, Tony Hillerman history.
I don't know what he'd think about it.
He's
Probably
turning
wouldn't
in
think
his
anything.
grave. He's like,
Maybe.
I did all that research so that they could make Emanuelita a slut. So, Safi, what do you have to say about the episode so far?
Well, first of all, we'll start with at the beginning. Where we left off at the last episode is they had that Pepper guy, farmer, whatever, but he was something else, like maybe a drug dealer, drug runner, whatever. That really never, to me, was never made clear. But Leaphorn and his wife are not getting along. And because she's mad that he left BJ Vines in the desert, and he didn't kill him necessarily, he just left him there. And I guess he didn't have any water or whatever, and so he died. And so she's mad about it. And so she kind of said, and so they had kind of a fight. So he decided he'd go to the jail and then relieve the other guy who was doing night duty. And then this guy, the drug dealer who is in jail, the lights go out, and then while Joe's fixing the box with the lights, light switch, light sockets, whatever, he gets killed. So this is where we leave off now. There's blood everywhere. The guy, he couldn't save the guy, and he's cleaning all this stuff. So anyway, that starts off the episode. So, and then
well, the FBI woman announces that he's no longer to be working on the main case of the season. He's not allowed to do his job because this murder has happened. Basically,
it's just ridiculous.
But what
I don't know if she thinks he did it.
Well,
which makes no sense.
That's one of the things I suspected from last week that they didn't really say anything about this week. But what I think is that she knows that he committed that quote unquote murder, the other murder against
kind of like manslaughter
against BJ, and so her instruction is basically like, okay, like, you're not allowed to do your job anymore, because it's like a preemptive firing. It's like preemptively like, oh, don't work on this main case that you're working on, because pretty soon you're going to be convicted for this murder and you're not going to be able to do anything. That's what I felt like it was like. Because this bitch, she's
I don't like her.
She's terrible. I hate her character. I don't understand, like, are we supposed to like her? Like, are we supposed to be happy that she's like this ugly, cold persona character where she's like coming in here and trying to tell him how to do his job and trying to basically like railroad him? Like, she has this like obsession with him and this obsession with the case. And she's so unlikable and so nasty, and I really don't like her at all.
And it just doesn't make any sense. I hate this. I keep saying back to the books, but it's people. The core people, I believe, who watch the show are fans of the books.
Yeah.
And they're in this whole episode, besides this Emanuelita stuff, which I'll talk about that later, but they treat him like he's a criminal, and they're disrespectful, and something really negative happens near the end and with him, and I've never seen that before, and he doesn't deserve that. I mean, he doesn't. I don't like it, and I don't understand. This is another thing, why she is so obsessed with this case. Because never before have the FBI, because like I said, it's out of the way, and it's not a fun place to be, it's not a luxury post, they don't like or care about the area much. They are supposed, it's a federal land, so if there's a murder or something, yes, they're supposed to investigate. But she's like obsessed, and negative obsession, and like I don't know. I just we'll just go. I just don't like it. It's just one basic thing. I don't like her either.
It kind of reminds me of the way that they treated Jimmy in the later seasons of Better Call Saul. The way that they treated him like he's this horrible person, this real bad guy, and like they just have to do everything they can to humiliate him as a character.
I mean, the other Navajo, throughout all the books, all of them, they all respect him, I believe. I remember that. He has a reputation of being this really expert case solver because he thinks it all the way through, and he follows the smallest of leads. He talks to people, and he does these maps with the colored pins that show, like, if there's a string of cases, how far apart they are or how close they are in proximity to of what happened, and it's like a notorious thing. Everybody knows that. And this FBI agent is so disrespectful. I guess we just can't keep talking about it. But this is one of the things I did not like, because at first I could see her coming in and doing her job, but she's like obsessed now.
Yeah.
And so she starts bringing in all these people. We talked about it last week. I was really impressed because, the guy who plays the character of Leaphorn, he is not Navajo. I have read that Navajo is a very hard language to learn. And so he had this interview, and I talked about that. I was real impressed.
Safi, that was like 2 episodes ago.
No, I know. Well, I was really impressed. So anyway, so now she's at the point where she brings, there's other characters brought in, and I just
let's just get into it. And so
the ex-wife,
okay,
the widow.
so BJ's wife, she comes out of nowhere back onto the show.
You said something about her. Where is she this season? You said that.
Well, because it just seems like female characters on this show, they basically just do whatever they want.
And they just disappear.
They just kind of
reappear.
They just kind of walk on and off onto the show and don't really have to follow the rules that all the other characters in the show have to follow. Like, they can just do whatever they want. And so she just shows up out of nowhere, and she's interrogated, and she says that she saw, or another woman saw, a police car drive to and from the ranch with BJ getting inside it, and BJ looked really scared, which I don't remember him looking scared. So that was probably just made up. But, like, the FBI woman's like, why'd you wait to tell me now? And she's like, because I waited for a situation like this. And so, yeah, she just gets to come in here and she's like, oh yeah, here's this really key piece of information about my husband's disappearance, and bye-bye. And then she disappears again. I thought that was really bizarre. It was just like, oh, like, I guess now you could say there's more evidence, but there's still not solid physical evidence to suggest that that he committed this crime. Well, if you could even call it a crime.
The thing is, that's hearsay.
Yeah.
The actual witness who was like a neighbor, because of course she's close enough, so to speak, to have seen that. She's saying what the witness said, that's hearsay. So without the witness really directly saying this, I thought, and so you know what happened as a result? They decided they had warrants, and they went to Joe Leaphorn's house after Emma just said, I want you out of here.
Yeah, let's talk about that scene first, because you're kind of jumping ahead.
Well, I know that, but this preempted that. This is why that happened.
Joe Sleephorn comes home, and Emma basically makes it seem like he's a bad person.
Which never happened, ever.
She says, you know, all the cliche things. Yeah. You're not the only one suffering. You're not the only one who's had to deal with bad stuff, and I've seen bad stuff before, and oh yeah, you have to leave. Bye-bye. And it's like, fuck you. Like, seriously, like, fuck you. Like, this is stupid. Why are they doing this to these characters?
She says, I can't live like this anymore.
Yeah, that's another that's another cliche
that was
thing. Very cliche.
That was very non-Navajo.
Yeah.
Okay, I just don't believe it. I don't believe it.
That's like a very modern woman thing to say. It's like a California thing to say, like, I can't live like this anymore. I gotta go do what I want to do because that's what society tells me, and fuck the patriarchy and all that. It's like, that's basically...
She didn't say anything like that, but she did say the first thing.
That's what it implies. It's like this attitude of, like, women and men needing to be separate. Men and women can't be together because it's bad, and women should just be able to do whatever they want, just be strong and independent. And that's what it all stems from. Is that, like,
she's already strong and independent. That's what's...
Yeah, well, she's strong and independent even though she's with him. Like, it's completely a waste of time. It's unnecessary, but it just feels like fake drama, and it feels like just modern bullshit. This show takes place in the 70s, and you have this modern... Okay, Safi, shut up. You have this modern bullshit that seeps into these retro stories. And I'm sick and tired of it. It's like, we can't just have one thing. Like, there needs to be a distinction between a show like this and a show like Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. There needs to be societal distinctions of, like, you have this Navajo reservation with people in the 70s. They're not, the women are not going to be like the women on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, where they're so strong and independent, and they're like, oh, I'm leaving, I just do whatever I want, fuck you, I can't live like this, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's not going to be like that realistically, and it shouldn't be like that, because these characters, there's no reason that they should have this drama between them. Like, it's stupid, it's dumb, if anything, she should be happy. She should be happy that he got rid of the guy who killed their son. Like, she should be like, almost like, yeah, good on you. Right, Safi? I mean,
I don't know. She gets mad because.
Don't you agree,
he
though?
didn't tell her.
But first, don't you agree that there should be, like, distinctions between these characters with other shows, like, because this is the 70s, it's Navajo Reservation, these women aren't going to act like the ones on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Well, in the books, you know, these people they mention that they brought up last season, who are kind of in and out of there, that they're from other, quote, cultures, or they have a Navajo woman, I guess she wasn't Janet Pete, she's a lawyer, but she's been away from the reservation for decades, and so they've got a different mindset. The Belangana, which is a white or a European or whatever, that what it was, she's supposed to be the reporter, which wasn't like that. She was a teacher in the book, but anyway, they have a different mindset, and this Navajo mindset, it's different. They have their own, you know, it's like a different culture.
It's a different culture.
And
they have their
mix
own.
the two things.
Yeah.
Like, and not even back then, today's culture with Navajo culture, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so after she says, I can't live like this anymore, and, you know, they had more conversation, but you're going to have to leave. Right after that, maybe less than 5 minutes, they get a knock on the door, and it's the FBI and other local law enforcement, and they have warrants to search their premises and all their things. And of course, that's like, after she says that's like insult to injury to Jolie Porn, and that's what I'm saying, they're treating him like a horrible criminal.
Well, there was one thing that happened earlier in the episode. Okay, Safi, every single time I talk, you're coughing, and
Sorry,
so it seems like it's deliberate at this
No.
point. Earlier on in the episode, Gordo takes Joe outside, and to me, I think that he implied that he knows that he killed BJ, but he doesn't care. Like, he thinks he did a good thing, so I think that that's interesting, though.
He does know.
Because, yeah.
But I don't know why he doesn't care. Because I don't know if he's actually supposed to be a Navajo.
Because that guy deserved it.
Well, I just think that he didn't. He knows what happened. I think he knows he left him out there. He didn't really pull the trigger, strangle him, knife him, or anything else of the kind.
He didn't even rape him.
Oh my God.
Well, he didn't do anything to him. He left him outside. That's not a crime. Unless it's like child neglect. Like
probably like...
if you left a child out in the middle of the desert, that would be child neglect. But
well,
if you left an adult out in the middle of the desert, it's their responsibility to get back to civilization.
I don't know. You have that you know, that's...
Yes, sir. Yes,
with,
ma'am.
Facts. But,
It's fudging, but Saul Goodman would get Joe Sleephorn off. You know, he would say, you know what, an adult is an adult, and an adult can get out of the desert by themselves.
No.
Joe Sleephorn isn't responsible for that bitch.
Well, I don't know if I agree, but the
Why?
thing is, the ferocity, I don't know if that's the right word, that this FBI agent is engaged in pursuing this case doesn't match the crime.
It's ironic, too, because,
Yes, it's very ironic.
it's the 70s. Isn't Nixon president around when the show's taking place?
Maybe, yeah.
Well, it's very ironic that she's going this hard against Joe Sleephorn, but you got Richard Nixon in the White House. She's not doing it. She doesn't care about that. She only cares about this random guy who got killed, who really deserved it, he died in the middle of the desert. It's like, fuck that guy.
And then here it is. She's trying to do a proper investigation, but she's relying on hearsay.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't stand up in court.
Yeah.
Okay, and this one.
And what does she?
One thing that it's just one of the things that makes me unhappy.
And what does she do next? Joe and Emma are standing on the porch together.
Oh yeah.
And she goes in between them, and she goes over to Emma and says, I'm going to charge you if we find out he did anything as well, because I'm just a bitch.
She said, I'm going to charge you as a you're going to be named a co-conspirator.
That's what I said. And so
that's the technical term.
She asks Emma to tell her what she knows right in front of Joe.
Which I thought was... That's what I mean. They never... That's what I mean. I think he's rolling... I think Tony Hellerman is rolling over his grave.
It's so unprofessional, too.
Yeah. I didn't like that. It was like almost at the end. There was some stuff at the very end, but this was like with Joe Leaphorn. And so anyway, so we've got the remnants of the murder from last week, the previous episode. Then we have this thing with Joe Leaphorn and Emma, and then them. And they come out with 2 banker's boxes full of stuff. I can't even imagine what in the heck would be in these banker's boxes that has anything to do with the case. And then, now we have the other thing with Emanuelita, which irritated me to no end. Now, I will say, now that we're on this, she does dumb things in the Sinister Pit too, but not one of these dumb things, but the other dumb things. And I'll say almost gets herself killed. But this one thing that just irritated the hell out of me, and why don't you go ahead, Marco, and say what she did?
Well, I knew last episode that she slept with that guy.
Well, I thought she was just coming to see him. She's going to sleep on the couch. How naive can I
get? See, that's like a Safi's mentality. I even said last week, I said, wow, she's a slut. And so Safi was like, no, Marco, you don't know what you're talking about.
She didn't do any of that in the book.
Yes,
nothing.
It turns out I know exactly what I'm talking about. And Emanuelita, the first thing you see her, she's naked in bed with this guy. And it's so cringeworthy. It's kind of like when you see like embarrassing pictures of yourself from like years and years ago that you don't want to see. It's like that's the kind of cringe that you get from this whole interaction. And then what happens is that she has a plan. She wants to go to Mexico so that they can see what's going on at this place and see if they're doing some kind of cocaine operation, which, by the way, I'm already kind of saying this is the worst season of the show because I thought this season was about human trafficking, and they even kind of implied that a lot in the early episodes, and now all of a sudden it's all about cocaine,
drugs.
And I think that that's just really stupid, and I think it's kind of weak. It's like weak and kind of like, like they didn't have the guts to do human trafficking story or something. Like, I just don't understand it, but she wants to go down there with him, but since it's Mexico, they can't be border agents. They have to pretend that they're a couple, and then it's like, oh, are we a couple now? And it's like, vomit.
He says that. Are we a couple now?
Vomit. And they are, apparently. So then they go to Mexico, and they have sex again, immediately.
So they show 2 scenes. Sex scenes. And I'm like, what the hell?
Well, they're not during, they're afterwards, but it's just the fact that, like, it was so unnecessary. It didn't feel like it was needed for them to, like, okay, I can understand the first one because it was implied last episode that they would do that, but it's the fact that they go to Mexico and immediately they're naked in bed together again, and it's like, this is a stupid story. It's a stupid relationship with these characters who shouldn't be together, and it just shows that they shouldn't be together because all that the writers can think to do is just put them in bed together. And it's like there's no real purpose to that either. It's almost just like, to me, foreshadowing what I was saying, which is that he's the bad guy, and that's something that, like, a bad guy would do. Like, you remember the 2000s Charlie's Angels, where Drew Barrymore sleeps with that guy, and then after that, him and his friends try to kill her. And then you also remember in Scream, when she finally sleeps with her boyfriend, and then after that, he tries to kill her. And so it just kind of seems like blatantly obvious that he's the bad guy at this point. But it's like her character is so stupid. It's like she's so, like, bewitched by this guy, and it's so cringeworthy. It's like it's indescribably cringeworthy.
Yeah, and she does this. So anyway, they do this thing. Now, it kind of happens in the book too, but she's by herself. She's not with a boyfriend or whatever he is. They go photograph these operations, and of course,
right out in the middle of the open.
Yeah, I was going to say, of course, just like the other 2 times she did this, people can see her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what kind of investigative skill is that?
Yeah.
Or lack thereof.
They're just sitting on a mountain right out in the open for the bad guys to see them, taking pictures of them.
And they're all armed. And so they're shooting. They start shooting at them.
Yeah.
And they hide, and just very convenient, but boy, were they lucky. They hide under an overhang, an outcropping of stone, sandstone maybe. And the bad guys are right on top of it, but they don't know they're under there. They're right below them.
That's cliche.
I know. And so one of the bad guys, he was in charge of the operation. Well, of course, Budge is there, and he gets mad, and he throws him off of the overhang. And when the guy lands, he's still okay enough, because he sees the 2 standing there, hiding under the overhang. And so he goes, "Help!" And the Budge is... in this story,
what was that
evil,
noise that you just made? You're like,
and he kills them. He was going to tell them, he was trying to tell them they were standing right there underneath them. And so, all of that was ridiculous and stupid.
Is that the way it happened in the book? Did that happen in the book?
Oh, okay. No, it was almost worse.
Oh.
She's in the... See, the sinister pig, a pig is something that they have a big pipe that goes across that bad guy's ranch. And what they're doing, they have these pig is coke. It's in bags or some kind of balls or something. And they have this thing where they don't have any more oil or gas or whatever they were putting through the pipe. There's no more. It's an empty pipe, empty field. So they have this blower thing, and it blows these, quote, pigs into the pipe and it goes all the way to the end, picked up and distributed around these big cities like Tucson or whatever in the Southwest. That's the pig. And so she taking pictures, and Budge and these bad guys come up to her, and she gets caught in this they want her to go to the shed. She says these idiotic things, and she's like dead meat. It's 3 against her. They take her gun away. I'm just telling you what happens. It's not going to be in the show. No way. Anyway, Budge is actually a good guy. He's bad, but he's a good guy. He doesn't want to kill her. And the ranchers asked him to kill her. And that's why they were there. They were going to kill her, because it was set up for her to be there. Her boss is the bad guy. But in this one, we think it's that pretend boyfriend. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it all works out. But she's afraid, and the rancher actually hit her in the head with the gun, but no, she doesn't get shot because Budge protected her because he knew that if he killed her, he and his friend would get blamed. So they go away, but it was still goofy because why was she there? It's just like, why was she here?
So to my knowledge, sex trafficking was a red herring.
I think so,
in this
because
show,
there's no mention of it.
That's just so weird. Like, you don't just use sex trafficking as a red herring.
Well, it is a problem.
You kidding me?
But it's not in the book or in the show. And
I don't understand that.
What was I going to say?
It's very disappointing. It's like you set up this one story, but then it turns out to be something completely different that, you know, is kind of like, who cares? Like a drug operation, like who cares? Like, I care about, I guess, the main murder that happened that they're investigating at the reservation, but there's a cocaine operation, who cares? Like, they didn't really set that up properly. They set up a sex trafficking storyline, and, you know, like, I guess the blonde girl at that pepper farm wasn't a sex trafficking victim either.
Well, see, that's what I was thinking when they showed her.
She's gone. They don't talk about her anymore. She's just eating peppers and shit.
Well, she was using drugs, I guess, too. I don't know. Or they gave her drugs to keep her quiet.
Yeah, so after the whole adventure with Emanuelita and her stupid boyfriend, they're back at the motel, and Jim Chi calls her and finds out Budge's name. And then he finds out that she is with another guy, and he's very upset. And and then he gets drunk, and he even hangs out with Shorty and stays at his house. And I thought that was cool. I think that was a much needed kind of relief in the show.
From all that other BS, yeah.
And also just nice to have more development of him and Shorty, because remember I had complained that, like, it didn't feel like they were actually kids together, or they went to school together, and I think that they did a good job developing that, and kind of, so I liked all that stuff. And then he tells Joe, and Joe is also investigating still these murders. He doesn't care about, you know, the
dumb FBI woman.
The biatch. Let's just call her Jam from The Office, because that's basically what she's like. And he ends up discovering that George, the boy that they're looking for, he is at Coal Mine Canyon. And they discover this because he sold some of these things to this pawn shop guy, and the pawn shop guy saw that he had, like, dirty fingers and black fingers, which implied that he had been digging at Coal Mine Canyon.
Well, he wants money so he can take a train to go live with his mother in Reno, Nevada. That's what the money would be for. But right now he's out alone in the canyon, in the coal canyon, with a horse, camping.
I know that some people will probably complain, because it is a valid complaint that, like, this whole time all he had to do was just find George, and it was pretty easy to find him. But I kind of liked how, you know, Joe has been so caught up with everything, and he hasn't really gotten a chance to sit down and look at the evidence and look at the reports. And so he finally does that, and then he ends up finding what he needs. I thought that was like a good thing to have in the show.
Well, that kind of, that more represents how he was portrayed in the book.
And that's what it felt like, is that it felt more natural to his character, and it felt just more natural to a detective story.
Right. Looking at the evidence and seeing where it took him. Yeah. All that other stuff, that drama, I don't care for it, and I don't think it has any place in it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's been other shows, detective shows.
Modern shows,
where they didn't have all that drama crap. I'm sorry, they don't need that. You don't need that to get people to watch it. they watch it because they like the Southwest, they like the characters, they like the mystery, they like the ethnographic stuff, which is the customs. I didn't mention that after they have the murder, I told you Navajo are really particular about being around dead people. They don't like it, and they have to go through a cleansing ceremony. And what they had to do, because this was jail and they can't knock the jail down, which is what they would do with the Hogan, they brought in this woman. She'd been in other episodes. She's Navajo, an old lady, but she also speaks fluent English. And she came in there and did a cleansing ceremony. So that's, that's an ethnographic.
I like that part. That was a good part.
They didn't show the ceremony, but they brought her in and they talked about it. And I think she's blind too, or has terrible eyesight. But anyway, but for the code talkers, they had this thing where they walked around dead soldiers in the field. The ones who helped our country and the people defeat the Japanese, and with their code talking, and they had to go, when they went home, they went through these cleansing ceremonies because they had been around all these dead spirits. So that's people like that. I mean, it wasn't overdone either. They just said they were going to do it, brought the lady in, and he talked to the lady afterwards. And remember, all throughout this season, he's been seeing this, quote, monster. And he said, you know what happened. So I guess she knows what happened with that guy. Anyway, she said, when we see monsters, something is out of balance in our lives.
And I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Well, meaning that he's got to get his act together.
Yeah.
Basically told him that.
And he got really mad. He was like, you didn't answer my question.
Yeah, she did. He didn't say that.
I thought that was a good scene, too. And so we didn't bring that up. But the episode ends partially. We'll talk about Joe Sleephorn goes to Coal Mine Canyon. And this is the place where he gets attacked at night by the monster. So we'll get to see that next episode. And I will say this. I forgot all about that. The thing that they showed at the beginning of the season where he is trapped in the desert in the middle of the night. I forgot all about that. But that was built up to a little bit slower than the whole machine gun thing from last season. And so I appreciated that. But at the same time, they really didn't, emphasize this night at the canyon. The way that they did last season where they showed the slow motion and the music that they played and just, the way that they really built up to that. So it's weird that they, fixed their mistake from last season but then didn't fix it at the same time.
Well,
that's kind of like what these writers do for this show, is that they'll fix some mistakes, but then they'll make other things worse.
I think what happened was, too, remember I said Emma kicked him out of the house. So the last 2 nights, or the night before, he had slept out. He camped out in his car or truck, whatever. And then when he did this investigative work looking for this boy in Coal Mine Canyon, he was camping out there, too, after he, and then all hell breaks loose, and I guess we'll see what happens next week. So they are building up to it minimally because he's been kicked out of the house. He's not sleeping at home. He's sleeping in his truck in the desert. So after he does this investigation, looking for his boy, he's in the desert.
The last thing that we should talk about is that Emanuelita is in the motel room with her stupid boy toy, and he says, let's go back to America and maybe let's just forget all about what's happening because I don't want to get dead. That's a quote from the show. I don't want to get dead.
Is really weird.
I've never heard somebody talk like that before, even people who can't really speak English well. And so after that, though, there's this weird part where Emmanuel later looks on the nightstand, and he has his badge, I guess, on his wallet, and I didn't understand the significance of that.
But now you do, because they weren't supposed to be there technically, like officials.
But why wouldn't he still have his badge, though?
I don't know.
with him?
That's the other thing, too. Now, I watched that twice.
Like, you watch the X-Files, whenever Mulder and Scully, well, they are FBI, but, they always have their badge on them. They pull it out almost every episode. Hello, FBI agent Mulder and Scully. Here's my badge. Boom. Every single episode they do that.
And in Grimm, the African-American police officer, he actually wears it on a necklace around
Safi,
his
it's pretty
neck.
embarrassing that you said you've seen that show like 5 times now, but you can't even remember the name of the African-American police officer.
Hank. He wears, but nobody, other people who listen to this might not know the show.
Oh,
so
that's your reason.
The name. But anyway, yeah, it's Hank, and he, even though you never see Nick's badge he has the Grimm guy, you never see it very often. Hank wears his around his neck, but the point is, they show their badges all the time. Somebody does. And so this thing, and they really focused and honed in on this badge on the wallet. And so I watched it twice because I thought, why are they focusing? And she notices it. She's looking at it. That's why they're showing it on camera. So what does that mean? Does that mean that he really is the bad guy, the dirty cop?
I don't
know. Because this thing, I don't want to get dead, or whatever he said. It's just bizarre. Really bizarre thing to say, and then you see the badge on the wallet. So weird.
I would give this episode a D+. I've just kind of, once again, it just feels like with the show, the seasons will start off good, and then they'll take a turn, and there's no recovery for the turn.
Well, I'll give it a B-, but that's being generous. I don't like the quote sex scenes. Not that I don't think they fit, and I think Marco said that, and they don't have any chemistry. And at the end, I want to see how this all plays out. Like, is he the bad guy? And did she really know all along that he was, or was she so naive that she thought he liked her? Which is weird, too. Because in the book, it's something completely different, but I'm not going to bring it up until I see how this plays out. But I really, it irritated me, and the FBI agent irritated me, and Emma, her behavior irritated me, but the rest of it I thought was interesting and investigative stuff, but I don't like this drama BS. Sorry, I just don't like it. I don't think it fits with culture. And I know people don't know what that means exactly, but if people who read the books kind of know what I'm talking about. So that's it. So do you have anything else to say?
No.
Okay, so if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Become one of our almost 700 subscribers. We're trying to come up with a plan on how to celebrate 700 subscribers when we get them. So, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.